Okay, let's get this straight. Dallas police officer Amber Guyger was convicted of murder partly because of the testimony of people like this guy, Joshua Brown. Now, after the Amber Guyger case, Brown was slated to testify in Botham Jean's family's civil case against the city. Days later, Joshua Brown is murdered. But don't worry, the Dallas Police Department is on the case investigating.
A key witness in the murder trial of a former Dallas police officer is now dead.
A key witness in the murder trial against now convicted former Dallas police officer Amber Guyger was shot and killed Friday night.
Officials say a key witness in the murder trial of former Dallas police officer Amber Guyger was shot dead Friday night.
And police are trying to find out who killed him. Joshua Brown, Botham Jean's neighbor, was shot to death on Friday. His testimony, you may recall, helped prosecutors piece together the events of Jean's murder and ultimately led to Amber Guyger's conviction. Officials have not yet announced the man's identity, but an attorney for the family of Botham Jean, the man murdered by Guyger, confirms the victim was this young man, Joshua Brown. He was the neighbor who testified that he heard the confrontation between Guyger and Jean, as well as hearing the gunshots.
Joshua Brown had been Botham Jean and Guyger's neighbor at the time of Jean's murder. Brown's testimony helped prosecutors piece together what happened to Jean and ultimately led to Guyger's conviction.
Dallas police are saying they're investigating the shooting from Friday night at this apartment complex behind me, but so far they don't have any motives and they do not have any suspects.
Before his murder on Friday, Joshua Brown made headlines as a key witness in the trial of Dallas officer Amber Guyger.
So my apartment was right here. I could reach over. Both apartments probably like directly across from mine.
Last week, Guyger was convicted of killing Botham Jean after walking into his apartment in 2018. She claimed to have mistaken his apartment for hers and thought he was an intruder. On the witness stand, 10 days before his own shooting death outside his home, Brown testified he heard the shots and saw Guyger outside his apartment. Brown got emotional recounting hearing his neighbor's voice from time to time.
Now, the attorney for Botham Jean's family is also the attorney for the Brown family, and he tells me that his client should have been protected after testifying in the Amber Guyger murder trial.
You may take your seat.
On the witness stand, Joshua Brown recalled feeling startled when he heard the gunshots that would ultimately take Botham Jean's life. Now, the Jean family and their attorney, Lee Merritt, are demanding answers.
To have a key witness suddenly be killed is suspicious. Was this related to the trial? There's no clear indication of that.
Lee Merritt, a civil rights attorney representing the Jean family, said on social media Brown lived in constant fear of gun violence and that his death, quote, underscores the reality of the black experience in America. Merritt also said Brown deserves the same justice that he sought to ensure for the Jean family. Investigators have released few details on Brown's death, only that witnesses heard gunshots and that they observed a silver four-door sedan speeding away from the scene. Police have not said if the murder is in any way connected to the Guyger proceedings.
And Dallas police continue to investigate Brown's death. They are hoping that somebody who potentially saw something or heard something will actually reach out to them.
Joshua Brown took the stand in Guyger's trial and gave emotional testimony about the night Botham Jean was killed last September. Brown said he was in the hallway when he heard the two gunshots.
Could you tell if one of the voices was giving loud commands like stop, police, or anything of that nature?
Yeah, but no, that wasn't what they were saying.
Be advised, it does look like we have one on the ground.
The shooting that killed Brown happened at a different apartment complex than the one where Guyger and Jean lived. Witnesses described hearing several gunshots Friday night and seeing a silver four-door sedan speeding away from the parking lot. Merritt says Brown was scared someone was after him after he was involved in a separate shooting incident in Dallas.
Did he fear for his life related to this case or anything else in general?
He had been shot less than a year ago, and someone standing near him was killed. He was reluctant to testify in this case because he had been shot at, and he thought some people might want him to do harm to him.
Is there anything police department could have offered, any protection?
If he had concerns for his safety, then the county had an obligation to ensure that those concerns were met.
Hey, Omar, I want to ask you another question about that initial shooting that he was shot sort of a year ago. What do we know about that incident? Was anybody charged? Was he concerned about people coming after him?
It happened last year outside of a Dallas club, and there was somebody who was arrested and charged in that particular case. And apparently in that, he was inside of a club and they had a disagreement. They stepped outside, somebody grabbed a gun, and shots were fired. The person who was standing next to him was the one that was actually shot and killed. He was apparently shot in the foot. Now, Lee Merritt tells me that he feared for his life. He'd actually moved out of town and was trying to get away, but came back. And during the course of this trial, of course, we find out that he was living next to Botham Jean. He was hesitant to testify. The judge did not even swear him in on the witness stand beforehand. Everybody else was sworn in there in front of the judge. And the judge even said, "You've been sworn in before." Came in, gave his testimony. He was hesitant to testify, but he was following what possibly could have been a subpoena or a court order to come in and testify, and did his piece. And that's why Lee Merritt is saying, this is why a lot of people don't want to come forward, because if they have something else going on in their life, they want that sort of protection after they leave, and he's saying his client did not get it.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's sort of an indication of a level of violence that many people are living with in our cities.
I am not going to make any comments about this because you know what YouTube's going to do. Leave your thoughts about this for the world, the Google Thought Police, and the Dallas Police Department in the comments section below. I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored Shadow Man video.